We're very honored to have Mr. Nabil and Noor. I'm going to give him the chance to introduce himself, talking about himself, but mashallah, you can tell when I sent an email about Mr. Nabil coming, everyone very interested. So we're very honored to have you here, Mr. Nabil. So give a big welcome for Mr. Nabil.
السلام عليكم. حسيت نفسي كأني قاعد بتكلم في سناب شات اسكت. بعض الأحيان I try to break the ice. the first thing I'm going to break the ice معكم إنه اسمحوا لي بس I'll take off الشماغ وهذا بس عشان نعرف نتفاهم معكم أحسن. فالناس متعودين علي بالصلعة that's much easier I guess to everybody to relate to. أول شيء شكرا لجامعة الفيصل. I'm going to speak in Arabic and I guess it's supposed to be بحسب الأودينس. شكرا لجامعة الفيصل للدعوة إني أجي اليوم. I'm always happy إني أقعد يعني أتقابل مع الطلاب لأن شيء كنت أقول دائما إن افتقدته وحنا صغار. كنا متعودين الوحيدين اللي ممكن تسمع في نصيحتهم أبوك وأمك، وطبعا هم عندهم نصيحة emotional أكثر منها rational, which does not always have to be right, بس في نظرهم هم. الهدف الرئيسي بالنسبة لي اليوم يمكن نتكلم عن الايكونومي 2.0. كثير مننا نشوف السوشيال ميديا والكلام المشاريع الجديدة اللي تكلموا فيها صندوق الاستثمارات العامة الأسبوع الماضي. The next 10 years كثير نسمع رؤية السعودية 2030، التغييرات اللي جالسة تصير، وبالمناسبة مبروك انكم بتسوقون قريب ان شاء الله. بس لا تحمسون، زحمة اليوم. ما ادري اذا حد شاف صورة سناب، يعني العالم كلها you have to be a little bit artistic في السواقة. Little bit of my background. تخرجت في 2002. My background is actually engineering اللي ما احاول اتكلم فيه كثير، والسبب الرئيسي اللي ما يخليني اتكلم ان الناس ما احب ان الناس تربط ما بين التخصص وانت وش وصلت له اليوم، لان مقاعد العلم في وجهة نظري دائما تعطيك الخبرة in a vertical way بحيث انك تتعمق في الشيء اللي انت تبغاه، والمفروض انها تؤخذ كمعرفة اكثر من انها تؤخذ كشيء يحدد مصيرك في الحياة. وعشان كذا احنا نشوف ناس قد يكون درس تخصص معين ولكن انتهى به المطاف الى شيء اخر. اليوم نشوف الدكاترة صاروا تجار، نشوف تجار استثمروا في مجالات مختلفة علمية قد ما كان له علم فيها، ولكن the moment you start doing something تبدأ تتعلم فيه أكثر. جيت الجامعة هذه أول مرة في 2010 كنت أقول رئيس الجامعة، وكان السبب أن كنت بديت ماجستير في الإمامة. طبعا ما هو عشان أقول فلان أحسن من فلان، ما لها أي علاقة. كنت أصلا بادي لي سمستر، وفي نفس الوقت I was a CEO for 3 companies في ذاك الوقت. فكان الهدف اللي عندي بالماجستير مختلف تماما عن الهدف اللي ممكن أحد يدور عليه. وشفت الجامعة بدايتها، واعتقد انه جامعة فيصل is a progressive university، يعني من المعلومات اللي اتابعها من خلال ال7 سنوات الماضية. خلصت الماجستير في 2011، بس prior to that أول ما تخرجت من الجامعة which was the key point في 2002 كنت محظوظ جدا إني توظفت بعد أسبوع. طبعا يمكن هذا يعتبر في الأيام هذه a little bit يعني dream rather than being true. بس الفرق إنه يوم توظفت إني ما كان عندي أي هدف في الدنيا هذه إلا شيء واحد، إني ما أبغى أرجع البيت أو إن أطلب دخل من أهلي أو إنهم يصرفون علي. كان عندي طبعا السبب في هذا الشيء بالمناسبة إني تأخرت في الجامعة 2 سنين. ففي ناس يقول لك أوه هذا صار فشل، بس الديلي بعض الأحيان يعلمك أشياء ثانية ويخلي عندك خبرة أوسع شوي. مو شرط، بس this was my case على الأقل. توظفت في شركة صغيرة جدا، مفروض أن اسمها شركة أنظمة متقدمة، كانت فوق محل بخاري وتحت مغسلة، فit was like a perfect combination بالنسبة لهم. الشيء اللي صار أن كنت مدرك التأخير اللي حاصل وقاعد أحاول أعوض السنين اللي راحت علي. أنا بعد ما خلصت ثانوية عامة جلست سنة ما درست جامعة. طيب وايرنج أوكي. طيب تكلم فرنش لا تبغى، ما عندي مشكلة. أوكي تسمعون زين الحين؟ I'm not sure إذا كان الصوت هذا تسمعون زين؟ أوكي. Okay, I hope I'm wired live. Thank you. الحين يطلبون إني أتكلم بالإنجليزي شوي عشان إن في بعضكم يتكلم إنجليزي فأنا آسف for the mixture. So probably I'll go back to English a little bit. When I finished school and I started working, the first thing I realized is I've missed a lot of time and I need to catch up. So I had to work literally for almost, as a start, it was 12 hours a day. There was a level where I reached 16 hours a day. And the only purpose I had at the time was just learning, and I wanted to know, and I was lucky enough that I had colleagues who were teaching me. And the only thing that shocked me was at the end of the month is when I realized that my salary was 2,000 riyals. So it was as good as a driver in the company. And giving all that time, but I didn't care, but because the major thing for me was actually is I wanted to learn as much as I can. The good thing in this experience is between September 2002 and June 2003, my salary was $15,000 riyals. Sorry, معلش. That's been dollars since for the past 4 years in America. So what happened is I got promoted twice in 6 months, and it was simply because I was overachieving. Not to say that I'm great, but it's because I had the chance, and every time somebody opens a door, I just make sure that I give the first good impression, and I do my best to get into a real achievement alongside my colleagues. And it was always teamwork. So I was actually all the time collaborating and making sure that making things happen the right way. 2005, I was hired by the largest IT company in Saudi Arabia, and at the time, they only were serving telecom companies from an IT perspective. I was asked to come in and develop the telco services, so to do more of a telecom business for this company. I grew the sales from 15 million to 50 million in 6 months. And thank you. And this probably has a little bit of a very interesting story, because the growth came out of a project with STC, and it was kind of challenged because the client was some kind of not very welcoming and collaborating, I would say, with vendors. So I wanted to know those guys a little bit more. What I've done was I went and I asked, where does this guy go after work? Because normally in Saudi Arabia, it's more about an emotional connection. And if they trust you, they have to trust you somewhere other than the office. When you come to the office, everybody knows that you want business. So I wanted to get an aspect that has nothing to do with business. What I did is I went to his office manager. I took him for lunch for once. I wanted to cheat a little bit, so I wanted to know more. I asked, where does he live? I went to the mosque next to his house. Then I discovered that he does not go to this mosque, he goes to another one. So what I did was I went back again and I asked, where does he go right after work? And he goes to the gym in Four Seasons. That was like, okay. Now, I went to the Four Seasons. The first shocking news was the cost was 12,000 riyals. So for a gym for a year, and the company's not going to pay for it. I'm trying to do this on my own. So the first thing I did, I said, okay, I went to the Four Seasons. I'm still not making a lot of money, and it's significant to me to pay 12,000 riyals for a gym. What I did, I had to negotiate with the gym that I can pay them on 3 installments, but I just want to get there to get this project. And then I knew how this guy looks. I spent a couple of weeks just going there next to him on the treadmill, not talking to him, not looking at him. He just sees me, my face became familiar to him. And after that, I asked for a meeting in his office. I went to the office, and when he saw me, he was like shocked, like, I know you, I've seen you somewhere before. And it became like really friendly, and I didn't ask for any favors. I said, all I need is just a chance like anybody else. We've been prepared for this project, and we had some kind of discussions. And the only thing that happened at the time that I guaranteed that we get fair competition, and we won the project. So that was the first incident where at least I learned my way of just probably some tricks work and get you into business, and where I realized that it's the network and the connection. I always say, like, you have to network with other people. The personal connection is always a very influential thing in this part of the world. I did another one probably, and which was a slightly larger project, where I had to fly out from Riyadh to London with a senior VP from STC. Again, it's always STC. I just flew to London because I wanted to sit next to him on the plane. I wanted to offer him something. And to do this, what I did was, I knew his flight, but I didn't know his seat. So this is another problem. So when I went to the counter in the airport, I was like, please, I just want to sit next to this guy. And he was like, he thought that I'm creepy and it's weird. Like, what are you trying to do? And what I did, like, I showed him the ticket. I told him, listen, I'm landing in London and I'm coming back on the same flight. I just need this 6 hours with this guy. Where he thought, like, okay, this is crazy, but and he gave me the seat next to him. I got the seat. First hour, I was actually, the one thing that I was afraid of is I was afraid that he sleeps because I can't wake him up. So the first hour was, he was reading, I waited for him, and then apparently we started talking. And I explained to him what I was trying to offer, and I told him at the end of the flight that I'm flying back, because he was asking me to see him again in London. I said, well, I'm sorry, but I'm flying back. I was here just to talk to you. So these things, it could have failed. I mean, I did not guarantee that it's going to success. I took the risk, but it worked. Again, in 2013, I took probably the biggest risk of my life, because when I did those two things, I was single, I didn't have family. It was, I mean, risk for me was almost zero, because it's just a matter of somebody risking himself. When I went in 2013 to the US, I had a wife, I had 2 kids, so now the risk is much bigger. Yet I went back home and I just told my wife, like 2 months later, we're going to the US. She didn't know why. And I didn't even give her the choice to think. You just wrap everything and we're moving. The shocking thing that not a lot of people know is when I moved, I didn't even have a plan what I'm going to do there. I just knew that I want to go there and I want to have a new challenge, understand how things work. But absolutely, I was not planning an investment. I was not planning to have a Graphene Ventures company called Graphene Ventures. I was not planning literally for anything. It was just, I had the confidence that I built 3 companies from zero. We ran actually in 5 years into over 300 million riyals. And I knew that I lacked one thing, which is the network. And I know that this was the key thing for me in Saudi. So what I've done, I spent the next year and a half in the US purely networking. And one of the things that I've done is I've invested a small amount in a company where I did not look at how good the idea is or how is it like a company that I need to invest. What I was doing is I was looking at the cap table of the companies. And if there is someone who's interesting to me to know, then I would probably put a small amount, because that makes it a much easier way to introduce to myself to someone who does not know me and does not understand my background, by telling them, well, you know what, we've invested in the same company together. I would love to have coffee with you and let's talk. It's much easier than just sending a cold invitation on LinkedIn, where anybody would do that. And this worked, because this ended up in having an introduction made to Snapchat, where we had like the largest transaction for us. And that's where my next chapter of my life started. And it's a very long story. Probably not the right time to go through it, but it took me 4 months to get Snapchat to accept us as an investor. It was not, everybody thinks because you have money, you go to Silicon Valley, everybody says, well, we would love to have Saudi money, but that's not the case. People in the US love to know you, understand what are your motives and incentives. Are you a long strategic partner or not? Are you credible or not? There is a lot of aspects that come into play when it comes to investment. Today, alhamdulillah, our asset under management is actually, we crossed the mark of $100 million. It was not easy, and it's never easy. And I guess that we are still in our infancy, and we're still in the beginning. A lot of people try to highlight the achievement as it's a big achievement. It's not. I wouldn't say that it's easy for anybody to do it, but I would fool myself if I think that I have achieved something now. I think it's just, we just broke the ice with Silicon Valley, and we started having the connection, We just need to keep building on the momentum that we have created in the past 3 years. When we invest, we have a couple of theses that we look after. We look after big companies and small companies. The beauty of this is big companies prove that we have the connection and the access to those companies. Small companies is what I care about because it is the only thing that shows that I can spot good companies when they're too early. We spotted 2 companies so far, so in our portfolio we have 5 companies, but for me, the real achievement that I look after is that we've already have a company that we entered when it was $4 million and today it's $80 million. And the good thing is not how big the company is today, it's actually that a company like Sequoia, which I consider the godfather of venture capital, came and they invested after us, which for me, it was kind of a vote of confidence to continue whatever we're doing. When I come back to Saudi, I would love to share the knowledge that I've actually gained in the US. Not only that, I can do it like 5 years from now, but I guess sharing it live and real time is much important because people need to get the information at the right time. A lot of people probably would do it, but when it's too late. I don't want to tell you history, I want to tell you present. I want you to at least be able to plan your future the same way that I'm trying to do this. And actually convey the message to the youth that you need to kind of make your plans on a longer scale. It's exactly, and I'm not sure how many of you is doing finance, but I know a lot of you is doing business administration at least. If you look at the stock market on daily basis and daily traders, you'll probably see volatility and just going up and down. If you just look at the same market across 5 years or probably 10 years, it would look like more a flat line. So there is growth, but the curves are actually smooth. That's how you need to plan your life, because if you look at your life in a very short period, it's very simply you're going to look at the volatility, and I guess this is pretty important because the chance that we are getting now is this chance that we did not have 50 years ago. Because when we were talking about the industrial revolution, it needed a lot of capex, minds, and knowledge was not easily shared between people. Knowledge transfer was actually almost near to impossible unless you are mixing and mingling with someone who has it. But today, you have a machine in front of you which is actually stronger than any supercomputer that was there back in the 70s. So the access to information is always there. And a lot of people actually, what I noticed is care about the certifications. Probably the university would not love me to say that, but I'm not a big fan of certifications. And the reason is because I always look for someone who's executing. You need to read, you need the knowledge, but use the knowledge for you as an improvement part, not as something that because I have this kind of certification, I earned something. No, you did not earn anything unless you execute on it. Unless you have an experience that's attached to that knowledge, because without it, you're actually simply having a theory in your hand, but nothing practical going on. Saudi definitely needs to move away from oil because I was explaining this actually yesterday night when someone asked me, take off the US mindset and think like a Saudi. Why do we need to privatize Aramco? Why do we need to actually move away from oil? And why do we need to do the whole change that we're looking at? Why do we have a project like NEOM? Why do we have PIF actually organizing an event that had all the money managers in the world coming in? Most of the people think about the event that was held last week as an event where money managers are coming and trying to take the Saudi money going away. A lot of people thought that this is the main theme. The main theme was not this. It's actually exactly the opposite. Saudi Arabia was literally offering everything they have. They were opening up all the assets they have, asking those investors who came that they can, let's just look at the assets that you have, include Saudi in your mindset, and put it into your portfolio. Instead of money going out from Saudi, they wanted actually money coming into Saudi. And I'll summarize the last week event in a word that I heard from a senior VP in Citibank. So we had lunch, and I was asking him, what do you think about the event? And probably if any of you follow me, they would know that even if I get next to a taxi guy, I would just ask questions. And his answer was actually to me summarizing the whole event, saying, Saudi Arabia finally is coming out. It is finally when everybody now understands how Saudi think, what Saudi has to offer, how flexible the system can be. And the good thing is, because now we have a leadership, a young leadership, which is very, very important. For a very long time, the leaders were actually grandfathers. It was not even fathers. But now we have someone who's almost your age, understanding your mindset, because it's pretty important. Now it does not, nobody's thinking at you as if they're like being your guardians. It's actually being your partners. You're having a brother than having a father. And this mindset has a big shift, because the challenges that the leadership faces, it's the same challenge that you face it, but it's probably in a different level and a different scale. The aspect that they need to open up, I guess everybody looks at it today, and we can all feel it. And if anybody basically think that this is something that's coming out of the world, I would relate to it, because the futuristic thought was pretty important into that. The Crown Prince, or even, I guess, the team around realizes the fact that 50 years from now, a big asset like Aramco might actually depreciate to zero. So it's meaningless to keep something I own. If I'm sitting in this university, which has a big asset, a real estate asset, and if the university realized that this asset 30 years from now is going to be zero, I'm sure that they'll try at least to sell it and probably lease it. It's much cheaper for them than keeping it and thinking that this is something that I can sell later on. So it's a business and commercial decision, which is important. Not only that, there is another big aspect of that. People think that maybe the government needs to privatize Aramco because they need the money. The money is one aspect, but I don't think that's the major aspect. The major aspect is actually transparency. When you take a company public, all the information is going to be public. For a very long time, and unfortunately, there is a lot of conflict from even the ones who are trying to somehow rethink their thoughts about privatization and in general. The moment you take something public, you open the books. Everybody looks at it. This gives comfort to international investors. Last week, I met another fund manager who actually decided to invest $800 million in the Saudi stock market. And I'm not telling anybody to invest money in the stock market. I'm just telling you something that happened. So what I noticed from most of the international investors, that they're open now to come in and invest money in Saudi Arabia, because they do think that there is a huge potential in the country. My argument now, if those professionals who have seen the whole world developing, who have seen markets like China, India, Europe, and even US, thinks that this is an opportunity, I think we should be the ones who think that this is an opportunity. If those guys actually have seen so many different stuff, they've seen the economies going up and down, and they still believe in the Saudi economy, why can't we believe in the Saudi economy? The only thing I see here is actually somebody waking up in the morning and just looking at Twitter, a trend or whatever it's going on, but it is something depressing, and then this depress actually has a network effect. I hope that at least we have happiness and someone smiling having a network effect. The problem is, if you see someone smiling in the morning, you think it's crazy, but if you see someone who's actually coming in with a bad mood, you think that this is natural. I hope that at least this is something that changes, and at least we can change that. For me, the way I see it, youth will have a huge and big impact in the economy. You don't have to be worried about whatever specialty that you are, whatever major you're actually studying in the university, because that does not determine your destination. It does not tell you how the next life you're going to have after you finish school is going to look like. In reality, it just tells you that now you've gained knowledge on this thing, and you're going to work. You might need it and you might not need it, but despite the fact whether you need it or not, it shaped your personality and it shaped the way that you're thinking. And knowledge is something which is incremental. You'll always read, you'll always have to be connected. Today, it's different. Like 20 years back, or probably more, you would study, and then because the knowledge would stop, and I don't think that it was incremental before. because the knowledge that you have will actually get you to survive for the next 30 years. Today, you study, and this is, by the way, based on a study from Google. I think their head of HR published a book several years back, and it was simply saying 4 years after you finish your school and you start joining work, you're actually on the same level with anybody else on the organization. And the reason is because most of the people don't care about the incremental part of their learning. That I have to read a lot. I still have to know more about what's happening. Technology changes every day. Probably we don't have a lot of people doing medicine or some other technology stuff, but the jumps and the leaps that we see from one step to the other is much longer than the other one, much longer than what used to happen decades ago. And having all these kind of stuff actually should give you more confidence. A lot of people used to ask for experience. It's fine. The first job you go for, it's a job that you actually need to learn from. It's a job where you think, it does not mean that because you've studied finance, it means that you have to go for a finance job. Actually, you can bring finance to any aspect of any job that you can get into. And the same applies to marketing and to most of the other business classes, and actually different specialty within business classes. What I would love actually to conclude with is the aspect of the effect, the effect that small and medium businesses can have, the startups, and probably a number of you have ideas. I'll probably just list some points which should be kind of important to you. One, never think about an idea that actually came to you overnight. If it came to you overnight, then you have to work on it at least for the next 2 months, gathering purely information. Use and useless information. It does not mean that you, and try to be creative in collecting information. I know that not everything is available in the market, but at least think about starting small. If you're gonna start a job where someone is gonna pay you 5,000, at least try to think about a business that's gonna give you this 5,000. If it earns you even a couple of thousands, by the end of the year, if you reach that level, at least you're sufficient and you've created a job for yourself. The beauty of it, down the road, you're going to create a job for a second person coming in, and a third. You're going to be a job creator, you're going to make more money about that. And that's how businesses grow. Most of the people try to actually burden themselves with a lot of leasing a big office. I can start at home. I started at home twice, not only once. You can actually try to do most of the job yourself. You don't have to call yourself that you are the chairman, because that name actually would make you think that, okay, I cannot make tea for myself. I need to bring someone to make me tea. But at least